Regular Cuyahoga County Council meeting for Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Will please come to order. It is now 5 o'clock, and I'm not going to read the full sequence of notifications and warnings, but just remind everybody that all the rules about protocol and decorum are still in effect. I would ask the clerk at this time to please call the roll.
Good evening, everyone. It is now 5 p.m. As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Turner.
Present.
Mr. Hauser.
Here.
Ms. Simon. Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Mr. Castleberry.
Here.
Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
Mr. Schlepper.
Here.
Ms. Conwell.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Council President Miller.
Here.
You have a quorum.
I now ask everybody to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, this is a sad day. Just 3 months ago, we had a moment of silence here for Minnesota state legislators Melissa Horton and John Huffman, one killed, one seriously injured. Today, we hold silence for them again, and for media personality Charlie Kirk, murdered last week in Utah. And we send positive thoughts for an end to all political violence.
Mr. President, can I have a moment? All right, Mr. President, I do not condone acts of violence of any kind. I am a supporter of Cuyahoga County, which is in the planning stage of creating an Office of Crime Prevention, but I will not be able to do a moment of silence for someone who actively communicated racist remarks against African Americans. I was a proud co-sponsor of Racism as a Public Health Crisis, which goes against this county, my colleagues, and my principles.
Has anybody signed in for public comment?
Will Tarter.
Good evening, Council President Miller, County Executive Ronayne, Council members. My name is Will Tarter, and I'm the president of the Cleveland Branch NACP. And I'm here to speak on behalf of the branch and not any other civic entity. I'm here to speak on our organizational positions on two critical concerns in our community. First, our branch was made aware of a media report indicating that Black drivers received 75% of the citations issued by the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department Downtown Safety Patrol, and over 60% involved low-level offenses. More than a dozen drivers reported feeling that they were stopped, quote, for being Black, having tinted windows, and driving fancy cars. The NACP has repeatedly affirmed that Black people and all people of color deserve to feel safe and not to bear the dehumanizing effects of racial profiling, also known as driving while Black. We have reached out to the sheriff to discuss our concerns. Secondly, as you know, there is considerable concern in the community about the current state of vehicle pursuits. We recognize that deputies face difficult decisions in protecting public safety. Our branch believes that there are immediate, short-term, and medium-term steps that can improve community safety related to vehicle pursuits in Cuyahoga County. Police chases are not only a matter of criminal justice, they are a matter of public health and community well-being. As stated by the Ohio Collaborative Community Police Advisory Board, vehicle pursuits are dangerous and pose a high risk for officers and the community. For this reason, the Cleveland NAACP believes that the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department should immediately implement a moratorium on all vehicle pursuits originated from non-felonious offenses until reforms are made to the vehicle pursuit policy and they are enacted. We call for research and evaluation of technological alternatives to prevent high-speed pursuits from starting in the first place. We call for collaboration with the county, local municipalities, and the community to reform. May I finish the final point, Council President?
Just a few words, please.
Yes, sir. We call for collaboration with the community to pursue policies that prevent putting innocent residents at risk. And we believe that there should be more countywide alignment rather than the patchwork of inconsistent policies across cities. We believe this is a moment for the county to lead in collaboration and drive policy change, and our branch will closely follow this critical issue to enhance community safety in Cuyahoga County. Thank you very much.
Gifted Garrett.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Gifted Garrett. I'm a proud owner of Kyrie's Cafe, a Black-owned restaurant. It was named after my son. The whole brand is named after him. The whole his face is on the logo. I came here to just let you guys know that I'm the only dine-in restaurant from 55th all the way up to the Lee Road, and I have been proudly hiring young men from the ages of 17 to 21 years old to be the first job that they ever had, to put the work ethic in them. And what I'm trying to do is expand more. I actually have a waiting list of like 7 young men that's really want to work. And I was trying to figure out how can I get more funding or some help from the county or collaborate with the county to create some type of program for the young man that's interested in working and putting work ethic in and trying to become a part of the team with Kyrie's Cafe. I want to invite all you guys to come enjoy some of the best food in the city. You know, Google, you know, men a lot, women a lot, numbers don't. Look it up, you know, check it out. We got some of the best food in the city of Cleveland. And I would love to collaborate with the Cuyahoga, with you guys to figure out what we could do to help my brand expand and to give you guys some love with it. That'll be all. Thank you, guys.
Carol Beatty.
Thank you and good evening, County Council members. My name is Carol Beatty, and I serve as the Chief Program Officer for Family and Workforce at the Centers. I'm here tonight to urge you to authorize the contract with the Centers for $7 million in capital funds for the construction of the new comprehensive behavioral health center. I speak today from both a professional perspective and a deeply personal one as a relative of someone who experienced firsthand the shortcomings of our current system. This 24/7 comprehensive behavioral health care model is not only a life-saving initiative, it's a fiscally responsible one. It ensures that individuals in crisis receive the right options and the right care at the right time. Currently, too many people experiencing mental health or addiction crisis are cycled through overcrowded emergency rooms or jails, facilities that are costly and frankly not designed to provide the care they need, like my relative who experienced both. The Crisis Receiving Center will change that. It will offer immediate stabilization, connect individuals to long-term support, and allow emergency departments and law enforcement to focus on their core responsibilities. This is a smarter, safer, and more comprehensive solution for our community, and it's also a critical step towards building a behavioral healthcare system that truly does work for everyone and not stigmatize, especially mental health. I respectfully request your support for this community-driven approach specifically designed to deliver what we feel are the right options and the right care at the right time. Thank you for your consideration.
Dinah Applewhite.
Good evening, County Council members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name's Dinah Applewhite, and I recently joined the centers as the Medical Director for Addiction Services. I'm here tonight to urge you to authorize the contract with the centers for $7 million in capital funds for the construction of the new comprehensive behavioral health center. I completed medical school at Johns Hopkins University, followed by internal medicine residency and addiction medicine fellowship at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. Before moving to Cleveland just last month, I served as the medical director of the Massachusetts General Hospital Bridge Clinic, which is one of the first low-threshold walk-in clinics in the nation designed really specifically for individuals with active substance use disorder. Additionally, I worked for the Mass General Brigham, assisting in the development and implementation of evidence-based substance use disorder policies in inpatient, outpatient, and emergency department settings across numerous hospitals in the Mass General Brigham network. Moving home to Cleveland was not something that my family and I had initially planned, but this past spring, after meeting with the center's medical leadership team and also Eric Morse, I was just so deeply inspired by the center's commitment to integrated, person-centered care and really transforming the delivery of substance use disorder services across Northeast Ohio. And this commitment was not just evidence in their words, but in their programming. From their bridge-like WinMAT clinics to their robust harm reduction services, the centers really is already doing the kind of substance use disorder work that changes lives. The proposed crisis receiving center is necessary and urgent for all the reasons you all have heard and also will hear again tonight. The centers, with a mission rooted in equity, a staff with deep experience, and a vision for care that really meets people where they are, is uniquely positioned to lead that effort. I really would not have moved home to Cleveland if that weren't the case. I respectfully request your support for this community-driven approach designed to deliver the right options and the right care at the right time. Thank you.
Martin Williams.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Martin Williams. I'm the Chief Integrated Officer from the centers. I'm here to talk about why we need the Crisis Receiving Center in Cuyahoga County. The Crisis Receiving Center is an evidence-based treatment model that does not currently exist in Cuyahoga County. This is a 24-hour community behavioral health alternative to hospitals and emergency visits. We believe that this model would allow us to be able to provide integrated services to individuals in our community that can actually benefit from outpatient services versus hospitals or incarcerations. The Crisis Receiving Center is being developed across the country, including Ohio, in Lorain, Toledo, Columbus, Cincinnati, and we want to be part of that. One of the benefits that we've seen from the Crisis Receiving Center is that it ensures that no one with a mental health or substance use disorder will be turned away. There will be a clear path for anyone who has a mental illness or substance use issue to get access to behavioral health services. And what we're trying to create is a model that will provide inclusive and integrated services all at one location. One thing that we know about the Crisis Receiving Center is that the evidence show that if you have them in your community, it helps reduce the number of clients or number of individuals who are in your jail system. So it's something that we know that is needed in our community. We have too many individuals who are in the jail system that's should be receiving services outside in the community, not in the jail system. I've been in this field for over 20 years, in this behavioral health space, developing programs and growing programs. One of the significant contributions,
Please conclude your remarks.
one of the most significant issues that I've seen over the last 20 years is that
Please conclude your remarks.
the lack of access to services actually lead to more clients going to the hospitals and being incarcerated. Thank you.
Dr. Leon Harris.
I'd like to remind everybody that when the bell rings, that you're to conclude within 5 seconds, just a couple of words to finish the sentence out of fairness to everybody's time. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Dr. Leon Harris. I'm the Chief Evaluation Officer at the centers. I'm here this evening to urge you to authorize the contract with the centers for $7 million in capital funds for the construction of the Comprehensive Behavioral Health Center. I have over 20 years of research and evaluation experience. Based on my experience, treating mental health and substance use disorders are both a systems issue and an equity issue. For example, empirical research posits that people with mental health disorder, substance use disorder, or both are overrepresented in criminal legal systems. Additionally, this overrepresentation disproportionately consists of Black, Indigenous, people of color, or BIPOC. Inadequate or inappropriate treatment modalities have implications for the criminal justice system, employment, housing and homelessness, and the child welfare system. Again, the BIPOC community are disproportionately impacted by the inequities of all of these systems. Jails, prisons, and other criminal justice facilities are not often prepared to address the growing mental health and substance use needs of individuals under their supervision. More than 4 out of 10 justice-involved adults are affected by mental health issues, and between jail and state prisons, annual treatment costs range from $33,000 to $550,000 per person. Advocates and studies suggest that community-based mental health and substance use treatment services are more effective and economically viable, and can reduce incarceration and recidivism. For-profit organizations are constantly reviewing their organizational processes and practices to increase their bottom line. Our bottom line is people and the quality of their health and well-being. With societal landscape ever-changing, it is our duty to assess our programs and policies to address unforeseen gaps within the ever-changing landscape. Given the center's due diligence, I urge you to support this project. Thank you.
Eric Massey.
Hello, council members. Good to see you again. My name is Eric Morris. I'm the president and CEO of the centers. You're seeing a lot of my team. I think they're some of the most talented in the city. I just want to talk a little bit about sustainability again. Beyond the 3.5 years, I believe the Adams Board will continue to provide some funding as they do every year to the crisis continuum today. And if we prove this model to be successful, which I have no doubt we will, the funding needed will materialize either through Medicaid, managed care companies, or hospital systems to support. This model will provide the most state-of-the-art care to people with in behavioral health crisis, and will prove, as it has in every other state, it will save money in both Medicaid costs and cost avoidance for hospitals, and be an indispensable resource in our community. People in our community are suffering. If you've had the fortune to not have to sit with a relative or friend at an ER while they're in a behavioral health crisis, you're lucky, because let me tell you, it's a horrifying experience. People in crisis deserve a place to go to get the right kind of care in an environment created to meet their needs, with staff trained to help them resolve their crisis. And 10 beds in Cleveland Heights, while an excellent program and much needed in terms of location and capacity, it does not meet the need. My mother recently reminded me that when I was in high school, I had an experience visiting a state hospital with my father, who was also in this business. And I came home and I said, I'm going to find a way to help these people. The way they live is unacceptable. And here we are, on the cusp with this great team and all of our partners in this great caring community to create a center that will bring dignity, hope, and recovery to thousands living in our community who today suffer in a system that is not set up to meet their needs. Thank you for your consideration.
Elena Yanchar.
Good evening, County Council members. Nice to see some of you again. My name is Dr. Elena Yanchar. I am the Chief of Psychiatry at the centers, and I am here, like my colleagues, to urge you to approve this contract. As a double-boarded physician in both family medicine and psychiatry and fellowship trained in community psychiatry, I bring over a decade of experience from working in the Bronx, Oakland, and San Diego, and many other areas in the country. 4 years ago, I returned home to Cleveland. I've witnessed many diverse models of care across the country, and I believe firmly that this project is what our community needs. Over these 4 years, I've seen firsthand the profound gaps in our system for the most vulnerable, in my opinion, those with severe and persistent mental illness and those suffering from addiction. A few years ago, I launched a street medicine team with Northeast Ohio Coalition for the Homeless, where I went out weekly to bridge this divide, reaching people in encampments, under bridges, in abandoned buildings. And these individuals, often very distrustful of our healthcare due to past trauma, have very complex needs but resist our emergency settings. The emergency department, designed for acute medical crises, can be deeply triggering and re-traumatizing for those in mental health distress. Yet for many, without transportation, phones, or organized thinking, it's their only option, and it often leads to worsening illness, forced stabilization, discharge with follow-up they can't access, and a vicious cycle. I've lived these failures. I've seen my patients sent from Cleveland's ERs to inpatient psychiatry in Columbus and then discharged to shelters there without access to get home. I've seen patients sent to local hospitals and discharged with paper prescriptions where they actually don't have the meds in hand, and they show up later, a week later, to see me, and they are totally decompensated because they never had follow-up. I revived a man with Narcan under a bridge who didn't want to go to the ER because he was scared of the ER due to past trauma. And instead, the police came. He had a past warrant. They ran his information, and he was later arrested. He was arrested that day instead of going to get the care that he needed. There are many more stories like this that I'd be happy to discuss at any time, but we have to do better, and I urge you to approve this project. Thank you.
Brian Tillo.
Good afternoon. As stated, my name is Brian Tillo. I'm the project director of this campus on East 22nd Street. I returned to Cleveland in 2004 to accept a post at the Cleveland Clinic. I was the senior vice president of psychiatry there for 20 years, and at that time we had 74 inpatient psychiatric beds. In 2024, I left the clinic and retired, and we had 274 beds, 201 additional beds. And I can share with each and every one of you, we didn't have enough capacity to take care of the patients. The front door to psychiatry at the clinic was a team of social workers that would take incoming calls from the emergency room. This team would service 22,000 patients, Cleveland Clinic emergency rooms only. Out of that 22,000, 11,000 of those patients would get admitted. 2,400 of those patients would be discharged out to non-Cleveland Clinic behavioral health inpatient units outside of this county. I can tell you that I'd walk into the clinic and we would have 20 to 25 patients waiting daily for a bed. The average length of stay inside of the emergency room is 12 hours. At $350 an hour, you can do the math. The math is $4,200. As I stated, I retired in 2024. I have the good fortune to come to the centers. I was tucked in. I wasn't ready to go back to work, but this project really, really intrigued me because the separation between acute care and this project is ongoing care after the initial assessment. Thank you.
Ben Heidi.
Hi, good evening. I wanted to start off first.
Mr. Heidi, if you could state your name, please.
Oh, my name is Ben Heidi. I wanted to, with all due respect, condemn the moment of silence equating Charlie Kirk to the assassinated Minnesota lawmakers. It's dangerous to equivocate those two. So I think our protest during that moment of silence certainly speaks to the free speech that we're trying to defend right now. I come here on much lighter news here. As you currently know, Cleveland is kind of in a battle for their flag. And I'm not coming for Cuyahoga County too much here, but I think it might be very helpful if we expand Nolan Beck's logo into a full flag. And there is a good reason for this. I work as an eligibility specialist, and we speak to so many people who do not speak English. This could be an easy marker for people to tell this is a county building. This is where I get my benefits. I'm suggesting that if you were to adopt something like this, we could replace it as needed, so no additional costs to the county. But I think something like that would represent the county a lot better than the seal on the bed sheet that is currently the representative. So that's all.
Daryl Houston.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daryl Houston. I'm a resident of Bedford Heights. And I'm a little concerned. Today I heard some interesting things, so I'll give you guys a way out if you're interested in it. Right now in Cuyahoga County, we have a lot of Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Family Dollar, CVS's, Rite Aids, buildings standing empty. Why don't we use those buildings in the communities, in everybody's community, for research centers for mental health, okay? We're not doing a good job when it comes to mental health whatsoever. I was at a public meeting yesterday downtown, and I came through about Tower City, and it was disgusting as to what I saw down there. And I think we can do better. I think we need to allocate more money to mental health situations. And if we do that, a lot of these things that we're experiencing in our communities will curve. A lot of these speakers that just came up here, they were very accurate. Remember, I told you guys I did 16 years wrongfully in prison. There's not an adequate system in there that can deal with mental health, okay? But I will stand here and say I'm not a fan of Adams Board. Adams Board, I have group homes. The money never gets to the group home patients, okay? So before you consider doing all these things, I would ask you guys to come up with a great blueprint of actually making it effective. As I see this paper here, I would like to point out a bridge, Kinsman Bridge. I know whose district this bridge is in, but I see 2 other districts taking care of their bridges, but I don't see this gentleman taking care of the Kinsman Bridge in his district. So I'm gonna deal with that later. But if you guys really want to represent this community, start participating and coming out in the community and see physically what is transpiring. You navigate through this community when you come to work and you see what's going on, but you do nothing. Thank you.
Lou.
Good evening. Well, after we hear
Lou,
lots
if you
of
could
the
state your
issues,
name for the record, please.
this is Lou.
Thank
We
you.
have heard lots of issues from the community. The situation is, the county budget has never been putting into our public health and public safety properly. For the incident we had, yes, the long-term issue is about high-speed chasing policy itself, but how are these officers getting trained is another issue. When you see an officer cause more than one death already, how come there was nothing done to it? Don't even say that this particular officer has the background information which was revealed. This person probably should not have been hired in the first place. Yes, nationally, we have lots of obstacles imposed on us. But if we do not get our internal matters straightened out, we will not have any energy to deal with all those, doesn't matter, fancy or trending external issues outside of our community. Mental health is an issue. Our shelter system still have mailing theft, still has pests, still also has same thing, mental health issues triggered by the people maybe working there or triggered by one another. Why? Because we do not understand everything should be human-centered first. You piled people up, of course, doesn't matter in the shelter or outside of the shelter. People will be agitating everybody else, and people will be agitated by everybody else. Thank you very much.
John Jones.
President Miller, Executive Ronayne, good evening. My name is John Jones. I'm a resident of Cleveland on the west side. I'm also a coordinating intake specialist at Frontline Service and a proud officer in my union, SEIU District 1199, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio. I stand here before you in opposition to Resolution R2025-0241 regarding behavioral health, which appropriates $7 million towards the construction of a behavioral health care center near downtown and the east side of Cleveland. I am not opposed to the project entirely, but the implications of this center have not been fully considered. The County Adams Board is proposing up to 10% across the board cuts and the elimination of funding for a crisis stabilization unit on the west side to help pay for its contribution to this project. To the best of my knowledge, none of the other mental health county contract providers, including my employer, Frontline Service, was consulted during this process. Cutting the stabilization unit, which has existed on the west side for over 50 years, would be devastating for our community, and the proposed cuts will hurt all providers in Cuyahoga County. The County Council must table this project for now to allow for further consideration and collaboration. Do we have the data that provides a central center will be more efficient and effective? Who will pay for the facility's continuing operation once the county funding stops? What will happen to the workers who are laid off as a result of the reduction in funding, in addition to some clients on the west side of Cleveland? How will the remaining $5.9 million funding gap be paid for? Before you vote yes, if you can't confidently answer these questions I asked, then you're doing a disservice to this community. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Dodie Rimelin.
Hi, good evening, and thank you to the County Council members. I'm Dr. Dodie Rimelin. I am an internal medicine and addiction medicine physician, and I'm the chief of primary care at the centers. I grew up in Ohio in the Toledo area, and I had the privilege of doing medical training and practice for many years in Boston and San Francisco, but always knowing I wanted to come home, raise my family here, and work in my the state and community where I had grown up. For me, one of the driving forces in my practice is for us to really be able to deliver the best care to our community. This holds true in my primary care practice, but probably holds more true in my addiction practice and leadership role because the stakes feel so high, right? People are literally dying of overdose in our community every day. And it's a field that's constantly evolving and improving, right? We see newer, sort of better ways to start life-saving medications like buprenorphine. We see newer models of care that are more accessible and more desirable to our sickest and hardest to reach patients. And I really come to work every day trying to implement, giving our own community and individuals the care that is as good or better than they could receive anywhere in our country. And I do believe that an integrated crisis receiving center, addiction treatment center, and outpatient psychiatry and primary care center, all co-located, is a major step in that direction. We know that our current local system that cares for people with addiction and psychiatric disease can be siloed, doesn't address all of one's needs, and sometimes turns people away. The centers opened the first behavioral health urgent care in 2022, and we opened our low barrier walk-in addiction clinic a year and a half ago. And I would say the biggest lesson we've learned from that is that caring for somebody's addiction, psychiatric, and physical health needs at the same time in one space improves health outcomes and improves satisfaction and retention and care. Thank you.
Vincent Carnegie.
Thank you, and good evening, County Council members. My name is Dr. Vincent Caringi. I'm proud to serve as the Chief Medical Officer at the centers, and I'm here tonight to urge you to authorize the contract with the centers for $7 million in capital funds for the construction of the new behavioral health center. My clinical training as a psychiatrist has included fellowship training in child and adolescent psychiatry, as well as public and community psychiatry. In addition to my role with the centers, I'm a senior attending at University Hospitals Cleveland Medical Center, where I also provide inpatient call coverage for pediatric and adolescent psychiatry patients. This experience affords me a broad perspective on the continuum of care spanning ambulatory services, inpatient treatment, and crisis intervention. Much of my work has focused on improving access to care and supporting individuals and families through evidence-based, compassionate treatment. And one thing remains abundantly clear. Across Ohio, families are seeking help for substance use and mental health challenges in record numbers. Yet our crisis system, the part of the continuum designed to respond rapidly, stabilize people in crisis, and connect them to care, has never been fully built. That is why Ohio has made crisis services a priority. Over the last several years, the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services has put tremendous energy and focus into the behavioral health crisis system and have openly shared their findings in a landscape analysis that has identified the need to expand the overall continuum of care. With new investments in leadership, the state has been working toward a true crisis continuum, one that is visible, accessible in every community, and centered on the dignity of those we serve. The system must offer a timely and appropriate treatment option that is person-centered and helps people heal and thrive. The vision is bold, and achieving it requires urgency, persistence, and collaboration. To close gaps, to remove barriers, it means keeping people at the center, listening to their voices, and ensuring that when a crisis occurs, there are places to go, people to help, and pathways back to community and hope. Thank you.
Rosie Palfy.
Hello, my name is Rosie Palfy. I'm a resident of Parma. Forgive me if I get a little emotional, but this is about life or death. I'm a disabled veteran, and in June, a man that I went to high school with, who's an Army veteran, went to the Cleveland VA for mental health care. He went there for help. I don't know what happened, but he ended up jumping from the parking garage to his death, and he died by suicide. And he was a Lakewood resident, and I don't know, if having a behavioral health care crisis center could have helped him. I feel like the fact that we're even having a discussion about this is political malpractice. I'm a Cleveland resident, and I was outraged that you all didn't bat an eye in 2022 when you approved $4 million in ARPA funding to build a new Ridgewood Golf Course clubhouse and community center. And now you're questioning $7 million. You've known about this project for 2 years. I go to diversion center meetings, Adams Board meetings. Brandy Carney has known about this for 2 years. She's very competent. She was involved in all these discussions. I know the Adams Board has been meeting with some of you. They have been planning to make cuts or adjustments in their budgets to fund this for 2 years. So I don't know where the disconnect is, number one. Number two, this is going to help people before they're in a full-blown crisis and there's going to be a need to call 911. They're going to get help before they need to go to an emergency room or somebody needs to call police. There's going to be less calls. And I hear people talk about Cleveland. This is going to be a Cuyahoga Crisis Center. Thank you.
Dr. Christine Alexander Rager.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Christine Alexander Rager, and I am a family physician and president and CEO of the Metro Health System. I'm here tonight to speak to the Comprehensive Behavioral Health Care Center being planned by the Center for Families and Children. My initial understanding and conversations regarding this plan were that the behavioral health services offered would be complementary to the behavioral health services offered at our Cleveland Heights Behavioral Health Campus. I then read in the paper that the center is planning to open a psychiatric ED at their new site, which would be in direct conflict with the psychiatric ED, different than a medical ED, a psychiatric ED that we opened last year at our Cleveland Heights Hospital. As part of our agreement to open the psychiatric ED, which was intended to be in place of the closure of St. Vincent's Psychiatric ED, the Adams Board provided us with $4 million in funding annually. I again had to hear through reports in the paper that the Adams Board is now planning to take that $4 million in annual funding that they provide to us to provide it to the centers to assist in the opening and operating costs for the new behavioral health center. Currently, our psych ED operates at a loss and will have an even greater loss if we lose $4 million annually. As a safety net provider in Northeast Ohio, we take our role very seriously and have a strong commitment to our community. However, we continue to face budgetary crises and would be forced to close our psych ED if this funding cut moves forward. I simply could not justify duplicating services of other providers if the center provides to also open a psychiatric ED. My reason for being here tonight is not to weigh in on whether or not a crisis center is needed. It is to recommend thoughtful planning for the full continuum of services and to recommend against cuts from the Adams Board to our currently standing psychiatric ED. Thank you.
This concludes the public comment portion for tonight's meeting.
Thank you very much. And the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the September 9, 2025 Committee of the Whole and regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Now, under the council president's comments, I would like to ask Brian Hurst and/or Ann O'Donnell to please approach the podium for a presentation. Pleased to meet you. And I would like to just make everybody aware that September is National Service Animal Month. And I'm going to read the resolution in part that service dogs empower people with disabilities to lead a life with greater independence by providing best-in-class training, ongoing follow-up services, and a deeply committed community of support. And National Service Dog Month aims to educate our community about the benefits of service dogs and the laws protecting their handlers. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of Cuyahoga County, Ohio, hereby proclaims September 2025 as National Service Dog Month in Cuyahoga County. We encourage all citizens to celebrate service dogs and be respectful of the rights to safe access in our community afforded to the adults, children, and veterans who live more independent lives because of their assistance. So,
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to say one thing.
Okay. Thank you for this council for acknowledging the importance of service dogs to veterans. I suffered from 40 years of PTSD, post-Vietnam. I'm 100% disabled for my PTSD. Wasn't for the service dogs. Wasn't for having companionship over isolation, I would not be here today. That's how important those animals, those family members mean to us. Thank you very much. One more thing, I don't have a service dog with me because my service dog died a year ago.
Oh.
But the county doesn't have a local service dog provider for veterans. We need to work on that.
Also, under the council president's comments, Councilwoman Simon has requested a moment.
I think Councilman Castleberry wanted to say something, but I first, do you want to say anything? Oh, okay. I want to say thank you for coming up and presenting that award resolution for the service animal, and let everybody know that Councilman Gallagher and I have wanted to support a project regarding therapy dogs and service dogs for veterans for years. And finally, we were able to get funding from the Veterans Commission Fund and working on establishing a program where for veterans, we're going to be able to train them and provide service dogs to veterans at no cost. So this is a passion project for us, and we really am happy you're here to explain how important it is to isolation. Okay. So the other issue, thank you very much, Mr. President Miller. I wanted just to thank the executive, the sheriff and his team for collaborating with me in particular and the rest of council on developing a policy, pursuit policy that's going to balance out safety and also safety of the residents, but also make sure that the pursuits are done safely as well. So we've prepared a policy proposal, and the executive's reviewing it, and we know that he's going to come back with his team with something that I think we're all going to be pleased with. So I want to thank you, or Executive Ronayne, and my council for supporting this policy change.
Thank you very much, and I'm now going to call upon County Executive Ronayne for his comments.
Sure, Council President, members of council, members of the public, thank you. I'm taken by the last presentation and say double down with Councilwoman Simon and Gallagher and all of you on the service animals. It was good to have Metro Health here tonight, Christine Alexander and the team. 3 years ago when I was coming into this office, I stopped into their office and heard a heartfelt plea that isolation is a public health crisis in our county and probably across our nation post-COVID. People are alone, and the idea of therapy dogs helping both our veterans and all of our public, whatever we can do to support and help that effort, game on. Also wanted to, I guess, just kind of collaborate back and forth with Councilwoman Simon. 2 weeks ago, I spoke to you about my request of Sheriff Patel to fully review the department's pursuit policy. And as part of that process, I want to thank the Sheriff's Office for reaching out. Also, our office has reached out to a number of people, including grateful for County Councilwoman Simon's thoughtful approach to this. Also, County Prosecutor O'Malley, community chiefs of police, and other leading law enforcement voices. We have taken everything in and working now with the sheriff to receive back from him the updated policy, and I want to thank our law department as well. This has been an all-in effort, and we are looking forward to, in the coming days, reporting back to you on pursuit policy changes that I think will reflect all of those inputs, and I'm grateful for it. And thank the Sheriff's Department for taking this the way they are, as seriously as they are. This Thursday, September 25th, marks a National Day of Remembrance for homicide victims. Just encourage everybody in the community to observe a moment of silence for victims and survivors and their families. I want to thank once again Maisha Watkins for her work in the Office of Violence Prevention, and also for bringing this news note to me about September 25th, National Day of Remembrance. We have seen too many homicides, including this week in this community. It seems to be an every week occurrence, if not an everyday occurrence, and the violence has to stop. So please take a moment this week to think of victims and their families and also the survivors. Just in a week in review, I want to just give my condolences, and I'm sure it may have been said through your channels as well, to the Village of Oakwood and the loss of their mayor, Gary Gottschalk, long-standing mayor in our county, and thank him for his life of service, public service. Also, it's been in the media, and people know Congresswoman Mary Rose Okar and her incredible contributions to this community and to the nation. Saturday, we laid her to rest in this community, and just wanted to once again thank her and her family for the incredible public service. But she's been a leader for decades in our community, and we miss her. That same day on Saturday, I just wanted to give a shout out to the National Association of Mental Illness, the NAMI Association here in Cuyahoga County and Geauga County, for walking the walk and raising money to the tune of $2.5 million over their 25 years of service, and that's just not enough. We need more, and help the NAMI group to raise more. But with those monies, they've answered 40,000 lifeline calls, people that call in a crisis. So hats off to the NAMI group for continuing to raise funds to staff the lines for those in need in the case of mental health assistance. Also wanted to say thank you to ADA Cleveland. They represent not just Cleveland, but our broader region for their March for Access. I was with them at Public Square this weekend. We need to continue to make changes to universal design. As we design buildings, we need to think of those who are in wheelchairs moving through with assisted devices, how to get into buildings, how to get up in buildings, retrofit our housing. I'll be working continuously with Tony Scott on that, but to create accessible universal design places, and of course our transit and transportation. They told me a story on Public Square how in the 1980s they had a disruption of their own protest on Public Square because all they were doing is trying to get accessible buses, and hats off to the RTA, they finally did it, but it took citizen advocacy to get those kinds of things done. Wanted to thank Al Grimes and the Fatherhood Initiative this week for the Walk to School program that he ran, and just scores of schools in our region Thank you, Mr. Grimes, and the army of supporters and the parents who walked their kids to school. I was out at Gallagher School this past week, and it was just a joy to see our kids and our families together. Precious moments. So, also to Louis Moore, Grandparents' Day, another successful day where we honored our centenarians in this community and those also in their 90s and their 80s, and appreciate the wisdom of our elders. Finally, Stella Maris, who continues to provide just an incredible beacon on the near west side of Cleveland and their efforts with their Stella Fest to raise monies for more campus services. I know that was a lot, but a lot happens in September. On a much lighter note, but pales in comparison to the importance of all those things, just wanted to say, in addition to Service Animal Month here in September, today, electeds is, yes, Dogs in Politics Day. It started somewhere back with a pooch in the White House, but I want to thank Dogtopia for pointing it out today. They're a little dog daycare around the corner from here on Euclid Avenue. Even if you don't have a dog, stop in and say hello. You'll see a friendly four-legged friend, as I did today on the lunch hour. And finally, I think in 40 minutes or so, the guys down the street are going to play some baseball, and in the 2,324 games played between the Detroit Tigers and the Cleveland Guardians over time, Detroit holds a narrow margin of 1,163 to 1,161 wins. That's 2-win margin. So maybe this week we take the mantle. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Executive Ronayne. Legislation introduced by council. Consideration of resolutions of council for first reading and referral to committee.
Resolution 2025-0273, awarding a total sum not to exceed $10,000 to the Mayor Via Foundation for the purchase and renovation of 3212 Fulton Road from the District 3 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Refer to the Community Development and Housing Committee.
Resolution 2025-0274, authorizing an amendment to Resolution 2024-0396 in an amount not to exceed $250,000 to the Murtis Taylor Human Services System for the relocation of the Students of Promise Prentice Place Transitional Living Project from the District 8 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Refer to the Education, Environment, and Sustainability Committee.
Resolution 2025-0275, awarding a total sum not to exceed $5,000 to the Friends of the Hen Mansion, Inc. for the repair of the Hen Mansion chimneys project from the District 11 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Refer to the Community Development and Housing Committee. Committee reports and consideration of resolutions of council for second reading.
Resolution 2025-0260, awarding a total sum not to exceed $10,000 to Pet Fix Northeast Ohio, Inc. for the purpose of opening a spay-neuter clinic in Garfield Heights from the District 11 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
This item will move to the October 14, 2025 council agenda for consideration for third reading adoption.
Mr. President, please add my name to that.
Please add the councilperson's name.
Resolution 2025-0261, adopting various changes to the Cuyahoga County Non-Bargaining Classification Plan.
This item will also move to the October 14, 2025 council agenda for consideration for third reading adoption. Consideration of an ordinance of council for first reading and referral to committee.
Ordinance 2025-0005, amending sections 303.01, 303.03, and 303.06 of the Cuyahoga County Code to update and clarify the Cuyahoga County Civil Service Plan to ensure consistency with the Charter of Cuyahoga County and the administrative rules of the Personnel Review Commission.
Refer to the Human Resources Appointments and Equity Committee. Committee report and consideration of an ordinance of council for second reading.
Ordinance 2025-0004, amending sections 1501.01 and 1501.02 of the Cuyahoga County Code and section 3.02 of the Cuyahoga County Employee Handbook to prohibit discrimination on the basis of a person's hair texture or hairstyle, commonly associated with a particular race or national origin, in the areas of housing, employment, and places of public accommodation.
This item will move to the October 14, 2025 council agenda for consideration for third reading adoption. Legislation introduced by executive. Consideration of a resolution for first reading adoption under suspension of the rules. May I have a motion to suspend the rules requiring referral to committee and for three full readings?
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The rules are suspended.
Resolution 2025-0276, amending the 2024-2025 biennial operating budget for 2025 by providing for additional fiscal appropriations, appropriation transfers, and cash transfers.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President and colleagues, this resolution is the regular fiscal agenda budget amendment and answers to our questions to OBM are in front of you. This resolution is our routine additional appropriations, cash transfers, and appropriations transfers. This resolution includes several closeouts of grants and appropriations of other grants, and I urge my colleagues to support this resolution.
All those in favor of adoption say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Consideration of resolutions for first reading and referral to committee.
Resolution 2025-0277, confirming the county executive's appointment of Anthony W. Scott to serve on the Cuyahoga County Community Improvement Corporation Board of Trustees for an unexpired term ending January 31st, 2027.
Refer to the Human Resources Appointments and Equity Committee.
Resolution 2025-0278, confirming the county executive's reappointment of the Honorable Mayor Gregory P. Kurtz to serve on the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission, representing the Cuyahoga region for the term January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028.
Refer to Human Resources.
Resolution 2025-0279, confirming the county executive's reappointment of the Honorable Mayor Georgine Wheelo to serve on the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission, representing the Hillcrest region for the term January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028.
Refer to Human Resources.
Resolution 2025-0280, confirming the county executive's appointment of Brian M. Edwards to serve on the Cuyahoga County Tax Incentive Review Council for an unexpired term ending December 31st, 2026.
Refer to Human Resources.
Resolution 2025-0281, authorizing an amendment to various contracts to consolidate them with contract number 4656 and contract CE 0600-297 with 4209 Euclid LLC for lease of parking spaces located near East 40th Street and Euclid Avenue in the city of Cleveland. The amendment also terminates the 2006 lease and incorporates its 150 parking spaces into the 2008 lease for the period August 15th, 2024 through April 30th, 2028. To extend the time period to June 30th, 2028, to add additional funds not to exceed $600,480, and to amend terms effective July 1st, 2025.
Refer to the Public Works, Procurement, and Contracting Committee.
Resolution 2025-0282, authorizing an amendment to a contract with H.H. Golden Gate LLC for lease of office space in Golden Gate Shopping Center located at 6420 Mayfield Road in the city of Mayfield Heights for the period October 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2025, to exercise an option to extend the time period to December 31st, 2030, to change the terms and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $549,135.20, effective August 21st, 2025.
Refer to Public Works.
Resolution 2025-0283, authorizing a contract with Johnson Controls, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $2,618,567 for a joint cooperative purchase of preventative maintenance and repair services for HVAC, fire alarm, and security systems at various county locations for the period November 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2028.
Refer to Public Works.
Resolution 2025-0284, authorizing a tax certificate sale purchase revenue generating agreement via contract number 5653 with NAR Solutions, Inc., doing business as NAR Ohio LLC, in the amount not to exceed $40 million for the sale of tax lien certificates for the period November 1st, 2025 through November 30th, 2027.
Refer to Community Development and Housing.
Resolution 2025-0285, authorizing a contract with Cyclomedia Technology, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $2,588,000 for a joint cooperative purchase of high-resolution street-level cyclorama imagery and LIDAR for measurement of structures for the fiscal office's appraisal process, effective upon signatures of all parties through December 31st, 2030.
Refer to the Council Operations, Information Technology, and Public Transportation Committee.
Resolution 2025-0286, making a sole source award on requisition 16046 to InfraPro Computer Solutions in the amount not to exceed $2,490,000 for maintenance and support, system documentations, training, and related products and services for the Buckeye Case Management and Computer Network Systems for the period January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2030.
Also refer to Council Operations. Committee reports and consideration of resolutions for second reading. Each of these items, after being read into the record, will move to the October 14, 2025 Council agenda for consideration for third reading adoption.
Resolution 2025-0266, declaring that public convenience and welfare requires the rehabilitation of Fairmount Bridge number 10.80 over the Chagrin River in the village of Hunting Valley. Total estimated project cost, $2,300,800. Finding that special assessments will neither be levied nor collected to pay for any part of the county's costs of said improvement. Resolution 2025-0267, declaring that public convenience and welfare requires the rehabilitation of McCracken Road, bridge number 01.36 over Mill Creek in the cities of Garfield Heights and Maple Heights. Total estimated project cost, $3 million. Also finding that special assessments will neither be levied nor collected to pay for any part of the county's costs of said improvement. Resolution 2025-0269, authorizing a master sub-agreement with various school districts in the total amount not to exceed $1,331,982 for the purchase and installation of solar arrays effective upon signatures of all parties through December 31st, 2025 for the various school districts A through C.
Committee reports and consideration of resolutions for second reading adoption under suspension of the rules. May I have a motion to suspend the rules requiring three readings?
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The rules are suspended.
Resolution 2025-0252, authorizing an amendment to an agreement with the Metro Health System for an opioid treatment program and addiction support services for inmates detained at the Cuyahoga County Corrections Center for the period March 23rd, 2021 through December 31st, 2024, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2026, to amend the terms and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $2,882,687, effective upon signatures of all parties, reflecting retroactive budget changes as of January 1st, 2025.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, this was heard in committee, and as the caption says, it's for services for Metro in the jail for the opioid addicted. Recommendation from the committee was the suspension and adoption.
All those in favor of adoption, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0258, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various providers for a supplemental nutrition assistance program, also known as SNAP, to Skills Employment and Training Services for the period October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2025, to extend the time period to September 30th, 2026, and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $1,300,000, effective October 1st, 2025, for the various providers A through G.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President and colleagues, in October 2025, we will learn Medicaid rules going forward. This contract the rules will roll out in October of 2026, so this contract actually will have completed, and we will know what the rules are going forward next year. So I ask my colleagues for their support.
All those in favor of adoption, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0259, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Keith Commissary Network Inc., Network LLC, for jail commissary services for the period August 11th, 2022 through August 10th, 2025, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2030, to establish a not-to-exceed amount of the contract at $15,500,000, and to amend pricing schedules effective August 10th, 2025.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, this also was heard in committee. This is for the commissary in the jail, and recommendation from the committee is the adoption.
All those in favor of adoption, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0264, confirming the county executive's appointment of Michael J. Negre to serve on Cuyahoga County Corrections Planning Board for the term January 2nd, 2025 through January 1st, 2028.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Negre came and testified. I've known him for 50 years. He's a great guy. He's going to do a wonderful job on the planning board for the corrections. I ask my colleagues to support it. Support him.
All those in favor of adoption, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0265, confirming the county executive's reappointment of Dr. Lauren Bean to serve on the Cuyahoga County Women's Health Commission for the term May 1st, 2025 through April 30th, 2028.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Bean came before us. He was very impressive, and the Women Health Commission is a body that is doing wonderful things, and she's going to continue to serve and continue to do wonderful things as she participates. So I'd ask my colleagues to support this.
All those in favor of adoption, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Through the chair, would you add my name?
Please add Councilwoman Turner's name. Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution 2025-0268, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Halley Industrial Park LLC for lease of space located at 1890 East 40th Street in the city of Cleveland for the period June 1st, 2015 through August 31st, 2025, to extend the time period to August 31st, 2030, to amend the terms and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $8,513,154.72.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And this item was fully vetted in committee. As was read, it is a 5-year renewal, extending the time period over the course of 5 additional years from 2025 to 2030. August, $8.5 million dollar amount, and I ask for my colleagues' support.
All those in favor of adoption, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0270, authorizing affordable housing loans to various organizations in the total amount not to exceed $5,100,000 for the Affordable Housing Gap Financing Program, which will also assist in the creation of 557 new construction affordable housing units and the retention of 147 units for the various organizations A through I.
Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there any discussion?
This legislation was heard in committee. It's a great project all across Cuyahoga County. I ask for my colleagues to support.
All those in favor of adoption, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Through the chair, would you please add my name?
Please add the councilperson's name.
Resolution 2025-02.
And Conwell. Also Conwell.
Resolution 2025-0271, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Catholic Charities Corporation for success coaching services for eligible Ohio Works First applicants and management of the incentive payment system in connection with the Benefit Bridge pilot program for the period March 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2026, to amend the terms and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $1,996,754.24, effective March 1st, 2025.
Move to adopt.
Second.
To my colleagues, this is a new pilot program funded by the federal government, and the funds are sent to the state. The state manages and picks the goals that are set forth. We have 140 participants currently. There was information that was provided to me as the chair in order for us to move forward. I just wanted a better understanding of why the numbers, there was committee concerns of why the numbers were so low with the amount of money that is allocated, but the program had started late. It was delayed, and so I asked, the committee is okay with moving this forward, and I asked my colleagues here on the dais to move this contract forward. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2025-0272, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various providers for emergency assistance services for the period September 1st, 2024 through August 31st, 2025, to extend the time period to August 31st, 2026, and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $1,575,000, effective September 1st, 2025, for various providers A through E.
Move to adopt.
Second.
To my colleagues, this is routine legislation that we've had before us. During committee, it was, a question was asked, are each of these vendors, do they go through an RFP process? And they do. So I asked my colleagues for their support.
All those in favor of adoption say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Consideration of a resolution for third reading adoption.
Resolution 2025-0241, authorizing a contract with the Centers for Families and Children in the amount not to exceed $7 million for capital funding towards the construction of a new comprehensive behavioral healthcare center, with priority for the development of a detoxification unit effective upon signatures of all parties through December 31st, 2026.
Move to adopt. So, we come to the question of the crisis center, and we've been working on this for over 2 months, since July, and over the recess, and I think we probably all know how we're going to vote on this, and probably a lot of us want to share some of our thoughts and concerns, and so I would like to suggest to have an orderly and collegial discussion, that we start on the right with Patrick, and we just go down the line, and everyone who wants to makes comments, and then when we've heard from everybody, we vote on it. Does anyone have a problem with that? Michael?
I don't have a problem, Mr. President, but I think it would be important, because this was in my committee, that I give a historical perspective on how we got here, where we started and where we're at right now, and then we can go from there with the knowledge of historically what this legislation says.
Mr. President, I yield to my colleague.
I think that request is very well taken. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. And to start out, there's no bad guys in this. We struggle with finances, we struggle with providing services, and we struggle balancing that act. And it is very, very difficult, and especially when it comes to mental health. This legislation, Resolution 2025-0241, which awards $7 million to the Centers for Families and Children for construction of a new comprehensive behavioral health care center, was introduced on July 8th. The funding source for the $7 million, that is the ask, would be from the opioid fund, which is, and I will warn everybody, going to run out in about 2 to 3 years. The resolution was presented to the Public Safety and Justice Affairs Committee meeting on July 15th. Brandy Carney, Scott Osiecki, Eric Morris, and Dr. Elena Yanchar presented in the committee. The resolution was referred out of the council for second reading suspension. There were no questions that would hold it up, and the only reason that it got held up was Councilwoman Simon was out of town at the time, was unavailable. She requested through the president that it be held so she could review this further. During the committee meeting, Brandy Carney indicated that this would replace the diversion center, and that we would also fund this new behavioral health care center for 3 years at $4 million per year, for a total of $12 million for operating expenses, which is in addition to the $7 million for capital, the building. The funding source would be the opioid fund, again, finite. At a meeting in the council offices on July 22nd, the Adams Board staff indicated they would fund the Behavioral Health Care Center for 3 years at $10 million per year for operating expenses. At this meeting, council staff asked where the $10 million was coming from, and the Adams Board staff indicated they would have to cut funding from other organizations. Adams Board staff first indicated that they would cut $4 million in funding per year from the Metro Health Psych Ed in Cleveland Heights. Then Adams Board staff indicated that no decision had been made regarding that, and they need to study where the $10 million cuts would come from. The resolution was on the July 22nd, 2025 council meeting agenda for second reading adoption. At that meeting, it was agreed upon that council would send this for 3 full readings. The resolution was on the August 5th council meeting agenda for third reading adoption. At that meeting, Eric Morris indicated that the vote can wait until after the council recess. On August 5th, 2025, there was a Cleveland.com story stating that the Metro Health Psych Ed in Cleveland Heights and other entities could lose $10 million in funding from the Adams Board once the Behavioral Health Care Centers opens. News to us. The resolution topic was on the September 9, 2025 Committee of the Whole agenda for discussion. Eric Morris presented at the committee. No action was needed as it was on the agenda for discussion. On September 22nd, 2025, we learned that the Adams Board and the centers had spent approximately $2 million of the $6.8 million state ARPA award that must be spent by September 30, 2026. That's the only date that there's a deadline, September 30, 2026. If this project were to not go forward, the Adams Board would have to pay the $2 million back to the state. Somehow, some way, and I don't know how it happened, without council's input, there was spending of dollars to prepare the building in which this was proposed up at St. Vincent Charity. Several groups met at the Metro Health on September 22nd, just this past week, to discuss the proposed behavioral health care center. Adams Board staff indicated that their $4 million in funding for the Metro Health Psych Ed was always meant to be temporary and was never permanent. The concern and problem that we have is the Adams Board leadership changed, the Metro Health leadership changed. We have interim at Adams Board, we have new leadership at Metro, and that makes the web even webbier. The funding would be shifted from the Metro Health Psych Ed to the new Behavioral Health Care Center. Metro Health indicated that if the Behavioral Health Care Center opens and the Adams Board withdraws their annual $4 million in funding, that Metro Health will close its Psych Ed in Cleveland Heights, which we've already put $5 million into. The resolution is currently on for this evening, this evening's vote. It has had 4 readings, and as my colleagues, I'm certain, will tell you as we go down the panel, there are concerns and questions that still need to be addressed. If I were the king of the world, which I'm not, I would kick this for a couple weeks to get more information, but it seems that leadership has decided to move forward, which I respect. Thank you, sir.
Councilman Kelly.
Well, I'd like to just say what he said, but my concern is the fact that money will be taken from Metro, which is the county hospital, and for that reason, I cannot support this.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I'd like to hear my colleagues first before I make my final decision. Thank you.
Councilman Castleberry.
Thank you, Council President Miller. I agree with Councilman Gallagher that there's no bad guys here. I think every single person up here cares about the mental health in this community. You know, one thing I've always contended, I always thought as a state, as a country, we could do more. I find myself in a position where I see the state willing to kick in almost $7 million of their own, and I can't see that we can turn that down. I really have a problem with that. And I think that, you know, unfortunately, in my life, I've seen people go in and out of these hospitals, need mental health care, alcohol addiction. I've seen them turn around, and I'm looking for, I think there's still a good place for the traditional care, but I think the centers is offering a new look at this, and I think it could help a lot of people in this community. And I think that with the state offering that as well, I think, you know, I can support this program.
Councilman Gallagher presented previously as the chairman's report, but is now recognized for personal comments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I understand the position that we're in. Just because the state gives us ARPA money doesn't necessarily mean that we have to use it. The unfortunate thing is that when the previous administration of the Adams Board submitted this request to the state, once you submit that, you're locked in for whatever that program is. So that can't be changed. I called the Columbus to get an extension. They don't grant those because this is federal money through the state to the Adams Board, not necessarily the county. The concern that I have, and it's a real concern, is that, and in the meeting that we had previously at Metro just this week, is someone said, I hope that this isn't us or them. The reality is it is. One is going to live. The other one's going to die. $6.8 million in federal money through the Adams Board. $2 million has been spent. If we didn't move forward, that would have to be returned. We are into the Cleveland Heights facility for $5 million. Right there, the math doesn't math. We're going to be out $5 million, not out to $2 million. So this, and again, this was nobody in this room did this. Nobody in this room did this. This was just laid upon our table as somebody exited his job at the Adams Board. I cannot, as I've sat here for 15 plus years, I cannot turn my back on Metro. I cannot do that. This is our safety net. This is where the rubber meets the road in the least of us that need the help. I'm not saying that the idea for what the center's proposed is a bad idea. I'm telling you, it's an idea that's going to cost us money. How you say? In year one, it's 19.9 million. Year two, it's 20.6 million. In year three, it's 21.3 million, all supposedly covered with money from the Adams Board, money from what they call FFS, that's paying customers, and county opioid funds. And those funds after 3 years are no longer. So that's, if everything adds up, and it may not, and it may, if everything adds up, they're covered for 3 years. In year four, we will be stuck with a we will be stuck the $10.2 million from the Adams Board. I don't know if they're going to maintain that. I hope they would. $7.8 million for the FFS, which is the fee-for-service payment model, which means paying customers, which I think is abnormally high, and the $4 million from the opioid funds go away. So I don't know what Adams Board's going to do. I know our dollars disappear. The dollars on the FFS is questionable at best, And these are all services, by the by, that are being performed in Cleveland Heights that's going to close if we go this way. And if that's the council's objection, objective, that's fine. The total of this is $22 million a year at the end of year three. In year four, realistically, we're at $0. If, depending on what Adams kicks in, and if they kicked in what they're kicking in, we in the county are going to be held liable because this isn't a 1 year. This is a 10-year gig. And we take that $6.8 million and pump it in to the Families and Children's Services building and their proposal. We're on the hook for $14.2 million per year minimally. And over the 7-year period, we will be into this for $99.4 million. I can't vote for that. I would respectfully request that we take a time out here, discuss this further. These dollars, these monetary dollars are daunting. The loss to Cleveland Heights and the Metro facility is devastating. And again, I'm not commenting on what the proposal is. That was, nobody in this room did that. Nobody. We were stuck with this. So it's a Sophie's choice, and I choose Metro.
Councilman Schlepper.
I have to admit, today was a rough day. I lost sleep over this last night. We're in a tough position. So I'm just going to read my statement because this is what I wrote and I wanted to stay on point. So there's significant need for mental health services in our county. That's not up for debate. Mental health treatment and care has touched my own family, so this is personal for me, as it is for many of us in this room. The center's team, expertise, ability, and impact is without question. I applaud their organization, their work, and their contributions to our community. In the same breath, I can say that I'm deeply concerned about the sustainability of this project moving forward, given the broader implications of our fiscal climate, both locally and federally. This is a scenario where both can be true. I am asking for a close look at redundancies in services and hope that we can de-silo our process with a focus on a 20-year solution, not another short-term fix. So in the spirit of collaboration, but reservedly and with a watchful eye, I will be supporting this.
Councilwoman Conwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was not a proponent of this crisis center originally, and not because of the needed mental health care for our residents, but because of how the project was expected to be funded. As you've heard from many of my colleagues, there is no winners on either side of the coin, as you have heard from each of my colleagues thus far. I have a lot of reservations, which you have heard, in terms of we need the mental health, the extra mental health and the crisis beds out there. We need to be able to have a crisis unit where individuals that may not have Medicare going forward will be able to access the needed care that they have. And so I am going to support this because I believe that we've been in tough spots before on this council and with various administrations, and we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and make sure that Metro is not harmed in any way and that the centers can go forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I met with Eric Morris several weeks ago, and he shared this project with me and thought it was great. We need mental health and behavioral health services, and this was an opportunity. But that was simply in the silo of that moment. To learn only days ago that the cost of that was the operational dollars for Metro to be taken from Metro to be given to the Centers for Family and Children. I said, that's a different animal. That changes the conversation. And as you said, there may be no bad guys in the room, but it also shows what the leadership that was needed to have a conversation about this amongst those in the ecosystem of behavioral health, mental health, those who were providers. Why was there no conversation around this so that it's not dropped on our lap in the midnight hour to have to decide about mental health? And none of us here are experts in that area. The experts should have come together, all the parties involved, and decided what's best. I understand that we're talking about two incredible institutions here that we have to choose between, the Centers for Family and Children and Metro Health. We should not be here making a decision between the two of them right now. If the state provided money for a facility, then why wasn't there a conversation amongst yourselves and the Adams Board to say, this is how we should move forward collectively? How do we all become partners? Maybe Metro plays a part here, maybe Centers plays a part here, but that was for you to decide, but now we are forced to make that decision right now. That is what we are facing, again, in the midnight hour when dollars are about to be taken away from the state right now. Why couldn't this conversation have happened 6 months, a year ago? So I have talked to Eric Morris. I've talked to the leader of Metro, Executive Director, Dr. Alexander. But these are conversations I've just had in the last 24 hours around something this critical. The director of doctor of Metro and leader of Metro got 2.5 minutes at the podium when it should have been a part of the conversation we had 2 weeks ago. We were discussing it again in a silo when the parties who could have given us insight were not even before us. So again, I'm saying this because we may make a decision. I believe what Councilman Gallagher said. We need more time to again allow the parties who should be helping us, because every elected official makes the best decision they can with the information they have at that moment. And if you don't have it, you're going to make just the decision that you can. Whether it's right, it's just the best one you can make. And that's what we're looking at having to do right now. That is the challenge. Metro Health meets the needs of the most critical and complex individuals that have a medical concern. That's not what the Centers of Families and Children are going to do. They're going to get 40 bids, but there were 10 to 14 at Metro that are going to disappear, as we've just heard from the CEO. They're going to disappear. So you may help 40, but Metro's not going to be there to help the 10 most critical, okay? And I don't know what the answer is, but I believe those in this room and that were part of the ecosystem that makes up behavioral health, mental health, should have come together, should have been convened and collaborated in the past and give us the decision that we could say yes or no to, instead of forcing us to make the decision and choose between two incredible institutions. And that's what we're faced with doing, each colleague right now. So my ask is, and I'll say this, I'm a no vote at this moment, but if there is time, because we say we're under the gun, but if there is time, I would like for those who are the experts in here to come together and let us know what can be done collectively. Well, where can you work? How can you present to this council something that's acceptable to everyone? Again, instead of just hearing from the CEO of Metro, I'm shutting mine down, or Senators and Family, all the valuable work that they do. That this is not the best situation for this council to be in, but it is where we are. So having said that, I ask for more time. If 2 weeks is possible, I think we should give ourselves more time to hear from all the parties involved and see if we can have enough information to make a better decision than what's going to happen tonight. Thank you.
Councilwoman Turner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Of everything that was said here, I don't disagree with any of my colleagues' statements. I also wish that there was more time. I feel like I have to make this decision based on the limited information that I have. I know we received presentations, but there was stuff missing. So I'll say that this is an issue for me, not of policy, but it's personal. I have family impacted by mental illness, and I am a caregiver. I've witnessed firsthand crisis, been involved, had police called, and I know how frightening and overwhelming these incidents can be for families. That lived experience shapes how I take this vote. And again, Councilman Jones, I wish there was more time too. But I will be voting yes on this resolution because our community desperately needs more capacity, especially detox services and long-term behavioral health care. The center's plan moves us in that direction, and it represents hope for many families who are waiting for help. But my yes vote also reflects my responsibility as Chair of Finance and Budgeting. A $7 million commitment is not small, and it'll be $19 million before it's all done. But with every dollar, we owe residents both transparency and results. That means ensuring Metro Health's psychiatric emergency department remains viable while the center builds its capacity. We cannot invest in one while dismantling the other. So I'm voting yes for expansion because I gave my word. I'm voting yes for accountability and for continuity because families like mine cannot afford gaps in care. Our loved ones, our communities deserve nothing less. Thank you.
Councilman Hauser.
I appreciate all my colleagues' thoughts. I think this is a good project in theory. This project is not ready for prime time. I talked to Dr. Alexander. I really wish, we could have got ahead of this. To Councilman Jones' point, 24 hours. We're taking the Metro meeting was yesterday. The Metro meeting was yesterday, and so to Councilman Slepper's point, I'm gonna read my notes so I stay on topic. I think we have to be responsible with taxpayers' money. The proposal relies too heavily on federal tax credits with no backup plan. We don't have an amount from the city of Cleveland. We don't know where the Adams Board, $10 million is coming from. The Metro Health site is in Cleveland Heights, which is in District 10, which will be closed, which do the same, this is the same exact thing, just on steroids. I'm not even sure if the Cleveland Heights facility is at capacity, and so we're just gonna redo the same thing. Long-term, to Councilman Gallagher's point, I don't know where they're gonna get the funding from after the 3 years, which, they're probably gonna have to come back to the county. And so on behalf of District 10, I will be voting no. Thank you.
Councilwoman Simon.
Thank you. What we are being asked to do today is give $7 million, the remaining opiate funds, to the centers, a private nonprofit organization, to build out a building already owned by the centers for a behavioral health crisis center, which will be in direct competition with Metro Hospital. That's what we're being asked to do today. What we are also being asked to do is to use another $12 million from the opiate funds, remaining dollars, one time, to help the centers operate the Behavioral Health Crisis Center for 3 years, without a plan of how the centers will continue to operate for the next 7, which is a contingency of receipt of the state grant. We heard point blank out of the director, other than fundraising, there's no plan. Let me tell you, the plan will be to come back to this body and ask for additional funding. I have doubts about the 3-year budget. When I asked about how will the ambulance runs be paid, I was told, I don't know how they're always paid. Guess what? That's going to be part of this 3-year budget. It's not in there. I'm not demeaning the work. I'm not demeaning the vision. It's a wonderful vision, but this isn't the time. We're a government body. We're not here to enhance a dream of a private nonprofit at the expense of Metro Hospital. All we are hearing about is the benefit. We've sat through committee meeting after committee meeting without one word about the cost to this county until we read it in the paper. What we're also being asked to do is drain resources from Metro's Behavioral Health Center and PsychED, resulting in the closing of the PsychED and possibly the Behavioral Health Center in Cleveland Heights that we invested $5 million. And now we're going to say we're going to take more money and build a new building to duplicate services? This is what we're being asked to do. I want to state further, the Adams Board is taking, we know, $12 million of funding of Metro and giving it to the centers. There will be a loss of patients because of the duplication, a loss of professional staffing from Metro. There's a shortage now of nurses, of doctors, of highly trained psych professionals now that are going to possibly be picked out of Metro because we're losing funding at Metro and giving it to a nonprofit that maybe can pay more? Really? We're being asked to fund a new building to house Diversion Center when we already have spent over $31.5 million for a diversion center at Oriana House, which is growing and is only 2 miles away from the St. Vincent site where the centers is going to be. How does that change anything? It's a 7-minute ride. And somehow a new building is going to somehow change that dynamic? I don't think so. We have dedicated staff. We have an opportunity to do more at the current site for less money. That makes no sense. What are the arguments for doing this? The state has granted, through the Adams Board, to the center $6.8 million to build a standalone behavioral health crisis center. The grant, as I said, is contingent upon a 10-year operation. To satisfy this, we are asked to the county again to drain money so we can get $6.8 million grant from the state, but we're going to lose and spend over 19. How does that add up? 19 million we're going to lose to Metro to get 6.8 to a new building, to 7 to build out and the rest to operate for 3 years, which I don't think is adequate. The other argument, there's a gap in the continuum of care. I keep hearing that. I heard Dr. Alexander talk about what services they provide, the professional level of care, all of that. But what I didn't hear was there really is a gap. When I asked the question twice, the same answer came out twice. There's people in beds at UH and the Cleveland Clinic that are chained, quote, to the bed, and that was it wasn't a literal translation, but it meant that these people who have mental health issues have private insurance and somehow they're not, or those who don't, aren't finding their ways to Metro. Is spending $19 million and killing Metro Hospital justification for that small gap? Maybe with creative people in the room, we can figure out how to support our county hospital for less. If there's a gap there, let's fix it. That's not okay. It's not justification. The other argument, peer support, that's fine. I love it. Peer support to help people coming in and navigate the system of getting healing and help. But we need very specialized care when it comes to acute, serious mental health episodes. Peer support's a fine supplement to that. And there's just not, and finally, we heard Metro didn't want this money. Well, Metro did. Metro was told at the outset that this was going to be a complementary program, not a direct competition to Metro. So I want to make that clear. These are the arguments for this. Here's the arguments against it. We are funding a direct competitor of our county hospital, duplicating services, causing Metro to close its Psych ED that we have funded and supported, and possibly they're going to close a behavioral clinic. We're choosing to fund a private nonprofit over our county hospital. Metro has the capacity to have a sustainable and comprehensive plan for behavioral health. They have a Psych ED, and they'll be able to move forward with a sustainable model with the resources and bandwidth to do this. We're not hearing this from the centers, with all due respect, out of the mouth of the centers. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, because that's what we're doing. We're reinventing a wheel, and we don't need to do that. In terms of the ambulances, the argument against, when people come, the reason St. Vincent, and we have a letter, all of us here, from the EMS, Cleveland Association of Rescue Employees, a very cogent, insightful letter to us, saying from their experience on the ground, the reason St. Vincent's Crisis Center was so successful is because right adjacent to it was a medical ED, a medical emergency room, where right there can be a determination of what care is needed. And this is just so important to understand that when people come in crisis, it's not an easy thing to diagnose whether this is a heart attack, is this a stroke, is this a psychotic event, is somebody off medication. Guess what? The default decision of EMS is going to take somebody to the medical ER. That's always the default because of liability, because it makes sense. It's happening in our jail. Somebody's complaining of chest pains. We're ushering them, shepherding them, shuttling them to Metro. Well, guess what's going to happen here? The people coming into this behavioral health crisis, this new building, this new program, they're inevitably, more times than not, somebody in acute distress is going to be shuttled to Metro Hospital. And guess what? We are draining the resources. There's going to be a contract with Metro for that. This is the argument against this. The success of this is because of the adjacent proximity of medical ED and Psych ED. And guess what? Metro has that now at Severance in District 10. Together, they're there. Why are we doing this? We need to do everything in our power to make sure that Metro Hospital is given the resources, everything it needs right now to survive this turbulent time. They're laying people off. They're closing down some community places because of what's happening with the federal and the state climate. And it's not going to get better. Medicaid is going to be cut in 26. Let's not forget that. This is our safety net hospital, and we're going to walk away and say we're going to shift resources to a private entity to maybe survive in 10 years? I don't think so. Not this councilwoman. We need a comprehensive study. We need to see what's needed, how many beds, who's going where. We need to work together. This is divisive. This is not helping anybody in this community right now. Let's not forget the county guaranteed Metro Health bond issuance. Maybe our colleagues don't know that. If Metro fails, we pick up the tab. What are we doing? This is not only risky to taxpayers. I heard somewhere this is a risk to the centers. It is. I appreciate that. They're committed. They care. They have a wonderful, informed staff that stood up here today. I'm not sure about why a project is going forward with distribution of funds before council has a chance to weigh in. That's risky. I don't understand that. But it's not only risky to taxpayers, this is reckless. In my mind, I'm speaking only for me, to take this money and drain our hospital and put the county on the hook for our guarantee. And I'm talking about, most importantly, the least served in this community that need medical care, they need psychiatric care, and they need all the care they can get from our hospital that is already here. Metro Hospital is the heart of our county. Let's make sure it continues to beat.
Thank you.
So I'm going to close the discussion.
Don't you forget about me. Don't you.
Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. And first, I want to thank you for your leadership on this particular topic. And I really appreciate Councilman Gallagher's history lesson, because it's been around for a while. And I appreciate all my colleagues talking, because I'm struggling going back and forth in this. So a couple things I heard: there's no winners or losers. There's a winner. I mean, they're going to get the money, and Metro's going to be the loser. One's going to die, and one's going to live. I don't believe that's going to be accurate. When I got involved, when they came up for the committee of the whole, on the 9th, I think Chairman Gallagher said. And when I'm looking at it, reading it, we talked about the risk. There's many holes in this, a lot of unknowns, and then we're taking a leap of faith. And the council, if it passes, is taking a leap of faith. And then we get the update from Metro, as Michael said 24 hours ago. And this is not an ideal situation. But what we must do, as Councilwoman Simon and other people up here said, we got to figure it out if it moves forward, what we're going to do. When I talked to Dr. Alexander, months before, they had the idea of, wow, wouldn't it be beautiful when we woke up on Monday morning and we looked at it, centers and Metro, saying, wow, you take this one, I'll take this one. Now there's a divide. There's finger pointing here, finger pointing there. I'm getting all kinds of stuff. So we're going to make a decision today. And before I close, there's one thing that we as a council, we control the funding of the purse strings of Cuyahoga County. And we can make the decisions on where dollars go. And everybody, I believe, on this dais wants to make sure Metro is whole. And I'm asking a commitment from the centers to be the absolute overboard partner with Metro, making things move forward in a cooperative way. And right now, I'm having faith and hope that does happen. Because what we have right now is one step of a long journey on many different aspects of county involvement with our nonprofits, with our safety, our Metro, it's not even a safety net hospital. It is one of the premier hospitals we have in Cuyahoga County. So this is a long, I want to choose my words properly. I want everybody to play nice in the sandbox. And there's other things coming in the future. And we're going to look forward to being partners with you, but also be watching. Because once it leaves here, we're not going to have the ability to have a say-so over this particular moment in time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mr. President, before you conclude, if I may, because we've gone out of order with Councilman Sweeney, in terms of finding money for Metro, we've had preliminary discussions informally about the anticipated cuts to Adams Board and Metro and going into the reserve for HHS. That's what we're looking at with our budget. And to say that there's enough to go around, I don't think is realistic considering what we're facing. I just want to make that clear, is that we're going into reserves on HHS and anticipating cuts to both. So I don't think we can bring money in from someplace else without cutting into everything.
Mr. President, may I respond?
I was hoping that we could
Just very
not get
briefly.
into a.
No, I mean,
But
I didn't
please-
say.
Please proceed, but I asked my colleagues, please.
Yeah, I'm just trying, I didn't say today. This is going to be a while. The dollars might come in the future. Right now, we're in a crunch time. We're talking 3 years, 8 years, 10 years. And I'm just stressing, we make the decision, tough decision. And if we want to make this the priority that we're all talking about, other things will suffer. So I'll shut up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, may I say one thing? I want to reiterate my ask of 2 more weeks because we have not heard in a public forum from Eric Morris and the director, the CEO of Metro at one time together. I would even ask of Mr. Morris, because we're operating in such a time crunch. I'd like to know if they have time. I'd like for them to come forward and let us know if 2 weeks does not derail everything they need to do and give us more time. I'd like to know if there's ability to have a conversation led by the Adams Board, around all the partners, around what a solution can look like, so we don't have our county hospital and our partner coming forward and saying, I've got to close if you do what you're going to do.
So, Councilman Jones, I'm prepared to address that.
Thank you.
So, as I close the discussion, out of fairness to my colleagues, I'm not going to engage in rebuttal. I'm just going to do 2 things. I'm going to address the question of why we have to vote now. And then I'm going to present the prepared comments that I had worked on long before this discussion started. So, Councilman Gallagher told us in his historical report, by the way, thank you very much, that was very well put together. That if we don't move forward, that the Adams Board is going to have to repay the $2 million that has already been spent. And I talked to Eric Morris about this, and he said that given that fact, if we don't act today, it would be irresponsible of him to do anything other than to stop construction. And if we stop construction, and even if somehow miraculously we got everything resolved and it passed at the next council meeting, which is 3 weeks, not 2 weeks, because of the 5th week in September. And by the time construction could get restarted, well over a month would have been lost, and we could no longer complete the construction before the September 30th, 2026 deadline, to which we've already pushed it to the limit by the three or so postponements that we've done. So that's why it is that we got to vote on it. And as to the way I see this, decisions like this boil down to values. It's about what's really important. And to my mind, if we're willing to spend $900 million plus several $100 million in interest on a new jail, surely we should be willing to spend $7 million plus the $12 million for operations for better mental health services. We're all concerned that the state and federal governments are doing things that are hurting our community. So when the state does something good and creates a statewide program for mental health crisis centers and offers us $6 million for construction and is planning to and has budgeted more for operational assistance, we should accept it. The plan before us will help 1,000 people a month get timely help rather than stewing in their problems for weeks waiting for an appointment, or worse yet, ending up in jail. I know there are obstacles that we face, primarily three. First, there's a remaining gap in construction funding, and the intended new markets tax credits have not yet been approved. However, the tax credits is not essentially a competitive process. If we get investors and we meet the program requirements, we should be able to get the credits. And the centers has experience in doing this. They've used them before. And the centers also has a contingency plan to complete the construction if they don't. Second, there are issues relating to Metro's Psych ED department. I know that both are needed. Metro's program serves the most severe, critically ill patients, mostly with both mental and physical problems, but it's very expensive. And the Crisis Center will serve a broader and larger population with a lower cost program, with peer support and appropriate clinical supervision. Conflict between the Adams and Metro over mental health services is not new. Several years ago, Akram Boutros came to council and presented a grand plan for a new mental health program at Metro, costing in the tens of millions of dollars that would replace much of what Adams was doing. Our community must get Metro and Adams working together on coordinating mental health services, but in the meantime, we can't let this stop a program that will help thousands of people. Finally, and most difficult, there are issues about funding ongoing operations. This is just part of the mental health environment where Medicaid, Medicare, and private insurance all provide woefully inadequate funding for mental health services. We must work to get Medicaid especially to establish a proper payment code for crisis mental health. But we must also not let this issue stop us from providing high quality and readily available services to our people. When we so desire, we have moved forward despite obstacles way bigger than these. In 2014, county government, the whole county government move from its existing space to temporary space to make room for the new hotel on the mere hope that we would be chosen for the 2016 Republican Convention. When our economic development investment in Warner and Swayze ran into obstacles, we granted multiple extensions and additional assistance. If we can overlook obstacles for the Republican Convention and an economic development project, we should be able to do the same for mental health services. Thousands of people need mental health treatment and don't get it. My educational training is in clinical psychology. I know this model will work and help a lot of people. We can't settle for less than we can be because of a few obstacles. These are difficult times. More people than ever are dealing with mental health and addiction. I ask for your vote to look beyond the obstacles, to work together to get everybody working together to provide the mental health needs for our community. The clerk will please call the roll.
Council President Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Hauser,
No.
Ms. Simon,
No.
Mr. Kelly,
No.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Schlepper,
Yes.
Ms. Conwell,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
No.
The motion carries by majority vote with 6 council members voting in the affirmative and 5 casting dissenting votes.
The resolution is adopted. Miscellaneous committee reports, starting with Councilman Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President. There is no economic development issues coming before my committee this time.
HR is going to meet at its regular scheduled time.
Operations, IT, and Transportation will meet on September 30th at 3 o'clock.
Health and Human Services will meet at its regularly scheduled time, even though there was no contracts or legislation sent to it. We do have a presentation by the Amber Gibbs, CEO and President of Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities, in regards to public comment requests for understanding the IO and the self-waivers.
Public Works will meet Wednesday, October 1st at 10 a.m. to deal with the items that were referred to committee today.
Finance and Budgeting does not have a meeting.
Community and Housing this Monday, 10 o'clock.
Education Environment, Wednesday, 3.
The first budget hearing will be in the Committee of the Whole on October the 14th at 1 p.m. Under miscellaneous business, I would like to thank my Vice President, Councilwoman Conwell, for the suggestion for the roundtable mode of discussion on the last item, which worked very well. And I would ask, is there any other miscellaneous business? Hearing none, we stand adjourned.